Hello students. So the next topic as per your syllabus is the theorem of conservation of angular momentum. In previous lecture we have studied how the linear momentum of a system of particle is conserved. In this case we will study that if we have a number of particles, means many particles, then their angular momentum will also be conserved. Okay, so for that case we have considered in previous case we have considered 6 particles, but in this case we will consider only 4 particles. We can consider any number of particles. We can take 1 particle, 2 particle, 4, 6, 10, any number of desired particles for which we are trying to prove this theorem up to n number of particles. So in this case we will study about 4 particles. So this is particle number 1, particle number 2, particle number 3, particle number 4. They are having their respective position vector R1, R2, R3, R4. I have already told what is their position vector, the vector which tells the position of a certain point. So this is the position vector. R1 is the position vector of point 1 and P1 is the linear momentum of that particle and L1 is angular momentum of that particle. Since they are vector quantity, we have put a arrow on this on P and L. So we will put an arrow on L as well as on P. So they are vector quantities. So we have a system and we have a system consists of 4 particles. Particle 1, each is having each particle is having its own linear momentum as well as its own angular momentum, such that the particle P1 is having the first particle is having P1 its linear momentum and L1 its angular momentum. Similarly, the particle second is having P2 its linear momentum and L2 its angular momentum and R2 its position vector. So these 4 particles make a system. So in this case we will study that when the net torque on a system is 0, the total angular momentum, which is equal to capital L, that will be constant. That means the total angular momentum of that system will be conserved. So in this case we will study the net torque is when we apply the net torque on a system is 0. Net torque, it could be that we are not applying any torque on the system, or the vector sum of the torque is equal to 0. So we know that torque is also a force which gives rotational motion to a body. So when the net torque on a system is 0, the total angular momentum of that system will be conserved. So we are going to derive this theorem and we will study how we will come to the in the end we will see that the value of L will be fixed, that the L will be constant. In that case we can say that the angular momentum of this particle will be conserved. So we start with the statement. It states that if no net external torque, the thing we need to consider here is, or need to focus on, is that no net external torque means there is no net external torque. Either we are not applying any kind of torque or the vector sum of the torque is equal to 0. So in this case the no net external torque will be 0. Acts on a system, then its total angular momentum. The second thing we need to consider is we are talking about total angular momentum of the system remains conserved. It's not that the individual angular momentum of each particle will be conserved. The angular momentum of each particle can change, but the total angular momentum of the system cannot change until unless we apply some external torque on that system. What does that mean? That L1 could change. L1 is not fixed, L2 is not fixed, L3 is not fixed, similarly L4 is not fixed. But capital L, that means the constant, that means the total angular momentum of the system, that will be always fixed until unless we don't apply as an external force on the system. So we will discuss the derivation of this theorem of conservation of angular momentum. In this case, the angular momentum of the ith particle is, suppose ith particle we consider the first particle. Okay, in this case the ith particle could be any particle. If you put 1 in place of I, then we are talking about the first particle. If you put 2 in place of I, then we are talking about second particle. And if you put 3 in place of I, then we can say that we are talking about third particle. So I is just a I is used to denote the particle. So the angular momentum of the ith particle is L is equal to Ri cross में Pi. Li cross product with Pi. So the angular momentum of ith particle will be position vector of the ith particle cross linear momentum of that ith particle. Suppose we have to find out the angular momentum of the particle 1. In that case, what we are going to do? We are going to multiply the R1, that means position vector R1 with cross multiply or the cross product with P1, which is linear momentum of that particle. Similarly, if we want to consider for the second particle, what we are going to do? We are going to multiply the position vector of the second particle with the linear momentum of that second particle. So in this case, by that way we are going to by that way we can have a generalized term for ith particle for the angular momentum of the ith particle, which is Li is equal to Ri cross Pi, where Ri is position vector and Pi is linear momentum. We have called it equation number 1. This is equation first. Now, if this is the angular momentum of one particle, what will be the angular momentum of the whole system? In that case, we will apply the summation over the whole particles. All the number of particles we will sum individually all the number of particles which are present in our system, and we will come across with, and what we are going to get? We are going to get the total angular momentum of that system. So what we are going to do? The total angular momentum of the system will be. Now we are considering the total angular momentum of the system. Now the total angular momentum of the system will be capital L, that will be sum of the individual angular momentum of each particle, which can be written as I is equal to 1 to n summation I is equal to 1 to L n Li. So it will give a total linear angular momentum. Now we know that Li is equal to Ri cross product with Pi. So it is equation number 2. So we have replaced Ri with Li with Ri cross Pi. Other things remain same, and we have also applied the same summation. Now we will discuss on differentiating. Now we will come on across this side. Now we will differentiate the equation number 2. We will differentiate L with respect to T. What does that mean? Differentiating with respect to T means the rate of change of angular momentum with respect to time. So we are differentiating vector L, that is total angular momentum, with respect to time. What we are going to come across with is d by dt summation I is equal to 1 to n Ri cross product with Pi bracket. We are going to take d by dt inside the summation. We can take d by dt inside the summation. So what we are going to come with? What we left with is summation I is equal to 1 to n d by dt Ri cross Pi. And since they are a vector quantity, we have placed a vector arrow over this Ri and Pi. Now we know that according to product rule or differentiation product rule, we are going to differentiate them by parts. So dl by dt is equal to, at one time we will differentiate Ri and the second time we will differentiate Pi. So we will apply the product rule of differentiation, that and we will come across with summation Ri I is equal to 1 to n Ri cross dpi upon dt. We have differentiated Pi first in the first part. Let us consider this first, this is second. So the first part remains same, and we have differentiated the second part. In the next term, summation I is equal to 1 to n. Now we have differentiated the first part dr by dt cross product with Pi. Now the first part we have differentiated with respect to time, and the second part remains same. Next step will be, now we know that dl upon dt is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n ri cross product with d pi upon dt plus summation I is equal to 1 to n dri upon dt cross product with pi. Now we know that in this case we are considering this term. Okay, we are considering this term. So in this case dri upon dt cross product will be vi cross product with mi vi. Now dri upon dt, that means the rate of change of position vector with respect to time. We can call it as a velocity of that particle, of the ith particle. So it will be velocity of the ith particle with cross product, and pi is the momentum, which is linear momentum. It is pi is the linear momentum of the ith particle, and we know that we can write the linear momentum of the particle as mass of that product with multiplied with velocity of the product. So this term we can write as dri upon dt can be written as velocity of the ith product cross product with and pi is can be written as mass into velocity. So mvi. So vi cross product with mvi. Now since we know that the cross product of the two same quantity are 0, so cross product of two same vector a cross a is equal to 0, b cross b is equal to 0. So similarly b cross b will also be 0, because the angle between v cross the angle between the velocity will be 0, and since v cross v will be v dot v sin theta, and when we will put the value of sin theta 0 in the value of sin theta, it will the result will be 0. So v cross v will be v dot v sin theta, and when we put theta is equal to 0, what we are going to get, sin theta is equal to 0, so the whole term will be 0. So with that case, due to this velocity cross product with velocity, the same velocity will be 0. So this term will cancel out, or it will be 0. It will not cancel out, it will end up in being 0. So dri upon dt will be velocity cross product with velocity, so it will be 0. So the term we will left with, now this term is 0, so we will only left with this term. dl upon dt is equal to I is equal to 1 summation n ri cross product with dpi upon dt. We will call it equation number 3. So here until now I think it's almost clear. So now from the last lecture we know that dpi upon dt is equal to fi external force plus my internal force. This is external force, FIE rate of change of moment, linear momentum with respect to time of the ith particle will be equal to force. Which forces? There are two types of forces which are applicable on the ith particle. The first force is external force, which is FIE. E means external force. So external force on ith particle, and this is internal force on the ith particle due to jth particle. So summation j is equal to 1 to n, and I could not be equal to j. I and j could not be same. So it is equal to the summation of j is equal to 1 to n, and j cannot be equal to I f I j. So this is internal force on ith particle. This is internal force on the ith particle, this is external force on the ith particle, and the sum of the internal and external force could be also written as the rate of change of linear momentum of that ith particle. This is according to the Newton's second law. We have discussed this thing in a system of mechanics, the mechanics of a system of many particles. In that derivation also we have discussed this thing, and we have discussed this thing in the theorem of conservation of linear momentum. In that case also we have discussed this thing. So I don't think we need to discuss further this thing. So now we know that Fij, that means the force applied on the ith particle due to jth particle will be equal to the force applied by ith particle on the jth particle. ith particle will apply some force on the jth particle and the jth particle will apply the same force on the ith particle. So in this way they will cancel out each other due to the Newton's third law. We have already discussed this thing in the last lecture. So since Fij, that means they are vector forces, means the force on the ith particle due to jth particle will be equal to the force on the jth particle due to ith particles. They will be equal, that means they will cancel out each other vector when we will do vector additions of these forces due to Newton's third law. So this will tend up this extra internal force on the ith particle will be 0 due to Newton's third law. So this term will get cancelled out, not get cancelled out, this term will become 0. So we will only left with external force. So we will put the value of this term in equation 4 will be equal to 0. So dpi upon dt, rate of change of linear momentum of the ith particle, will be equal to external force on the ith particle. So dpi upon dt, which is the rate of change of angular linear momentum of the ith particle, that will be dependent only upon the force, external force. Here we are considering external force, internal force has become 0. So that will be equal to the external force on the ith particle. We put this as equation number 5. Putting the value from equation 5, putting the value of dpi upon dt from equation 5 into equation 3, we get here. We will put the value of dpi upon dt from this equation. What we are going to get? dl upon dt, dl upon dt is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n, I is equal to 1 to n, ri cross product. In place of dpi upon dt, we have put fi. This fi will come into this place. So fi external force. So now fi ri cross product with fi. We know that when we multiply force with its positional vector, then ri cross product with fi, it will be equal to torque. So this term will be equal to torque on the ith particle. We have already also discussed about torque in previous lectures. So when we multiply a force by its position vector, if we are applying some force on a particle and if we are multiplying that force on that particle and the position vector of that particles and we multiply them in cross product, then what we get torque on that particle. So since we are talking about ith particle, so we have subscript ith in position vector and subscript I in case of force. So the position vector of the ith particle cross product with the force on external force on the ith particle will become torque. So this is the symbol of torque. This is the torque on the ith particle. This is torque on the ith particle. Now summation, it comes in the same. It is carried on. So I is equal to 1 to summation is I is equal to 1 to n torque tau, which we call it tau I external. That means the total external torque on the ith particle. We will sum the external the torque on each individual particles, and that will be equal to the total external force on the system. Here we will consider on the system. So it will be total external force on the system. When we will add the individual torque on each particles, that we will end up with the total external force on the whole system. We were having 4 particles: particle 1, particle 2, particle 3, particle 4. Suppose we are having only 4 particles, we can take any number of particles. So suppose the particle 1 is facing T1 torque, the particle 2 is facing T2 torque, particle 3 is facing T3 torque, and the particle 4 is facing T4 torque. So the total force on this system will be T1, tau 1, tau 2, tau 3, tau 4. So it will be equal to total torque on the system. So we have done the summation of the torque on the individual particles, and that will lead us to the total torque on the whole system. Now we know that the net torque on the system is 0. In the statement we have already considered that the net torque, the momentum, angular momentum will be conserved only when this condition will be fulfilled, which is when the net torque on the system will be equal to 0. When the net torque on the system will be 0, only in that condition the angular momentum of the system will be conserved. So what we are going to get? We are going to get tau, we are going to put tau is equal to 0 in the above equation, and we will see what we get. So dl upon dt will be equal to 0. So we have replaced tau with, we have put tau is equal to 0. So dl upon dt is equal to 0. That means the differentiation of L will be equal to 0. Now we know that from a differentiation identity, that whenever we differentiate a constant quantity with respect to any variable, whether it's x, y, z or t, with respect to any variable, what we are going to get? We are going to get 0. That means angular momentum is a constant quantity that does not change with respect to time